Kia ora, te whanau, ngati paiakau, te whanau tu te wake, te whanau tu ahi awa. Ngā uri o te kohi rawa ko ngā rori. This evening, I want to give you some background history of Te Runanga o te whanau. It's necessary to know this as we are going through our treaty negotiations. So here we are, back home at Whitianga. Now, to go back into the history of the whanau, or Te Runanga o te whanau, 1986, the government introduced the quota management system for fishing. In 1989, the Crown settled Māori commercial fishing, treated Waitangi claims, which meant that Māori were now a major player in commercial fishing, and today they are the biggest player. In 1989, the Crown transferred 10% of the quota, back then some 60,000 tonnes, together with shareholdings in fishing companies and $50 million in cash to the Waitangi Fisheries Commission. The Waitangi Fisheries Commission was responsible for holding the fishing assets on behalf of all Māori until an agreement was reached as to how those assets were to be shared among the tribes, the iwi. In 1992, the Sea Lord deal marked the full and final settlement of Māori commercial fishing claims, and it included 50% of Sea Lord fisheries and 20% of all new species brought under the quota system, and more shares in fishing companies, plus another $18 million in cash. In 2003, agreement was finally reached as to how the assets of the Waitangi Fisheries Commission should be shared. Over 90% of the tribes agreed that 50% of the assets were to be managed centrally. The other 50% was to be allocated to the tribes based on coastline length and tribal population. And in 2004, Te Whanau was established to oversee all Māori commercial fishing settlement assets. These assets back then were valued, I think, at approximately $750 million. About $350 million of that representing about a third of New Zealand's commercial fishing industry, and was to be administered under a company called Aotearoa Fishing Limited. And Te Whanau was required to use its revenue from Aotearoa Fishing Limited to fund its own activities. Now, the Māori Fisheries Act, why is that important? Additional money from the settlement process was required to be transferred to iwi. And to receive quota, an iwi had to comply with Section 130 of the Māori Fisheries Act 2004. Section 130 states that an iwi must form a mandated iwi organisation which will hold and manage the assets transferred to them on behalf of the iwi. The mandated iwi organisation must be set up as a company, trust or incorporated society whose directors, trustees or office holders had been elected or appointed in accordance with the organisation's constitution. And the mandated iwi organisation was required to maintain a current register of all iwi members, containing at least the number of people listed in the fourth column of Schedule 3 of the Māori Fisheries Act. So just go back for a minute. Right. So anyway, here's the extract from the Act, on the schedule. As you can see there, Te Whanau was required to have a register of 2,500 people for the iwi mandated organisation before they could claim the quota. So the questions, because the quota was passed on to Te Runanga o te Whanau, So where is the register from 2004 of at least 2,500 iwi members of Te Whanau Apanui? Because to gain control of the fishing quota assets and money, the organisation, which in this case was Te Runanga Te Whanau, was required to show a register of 2,500 members. And where is the current register of iwi members that the Runanga is required to maintain? I don't believe there is one. Now, how many Runanga board members knew there was supposed to be an iwi register that was supposed to be maintained? Now, I don't know the answer to that question, but the board members that I have talked to, not many of them, but those who have been on the board or on the board, they have no idea. They didn't know there was such a requirement. And if there is no iwi register, and if there's never been an iwi register, what role did the Whanau Apanui and or the Runanga lawyers and or others have to play in obtaining control of the Te Whanau Apanui fishing quota? As you can see here, Section F of the Act, some of the scheduled, describes and names the approved mandated iwi organisation as Te Runanga o Te Whanau to represent Te Whanau Apanui. Now, so let's look at the history of Te Runanga o Te Whanau. 31 July 1988, our elders back then formed the Runanga. 13 hapu o Te Whanau Apanui executed an agreement to establish the Runanga to manage assets for the benefit of the people of Te Whanau Apanui. In October 1988, a deed of trust was executed, and Te Runanga o Te Whanau was established under the provisions of the Fisheries Act 2005 and reports annually to charity services. 19 April 1999, a new deed of trust was executed with the 10 participant hapu, because 3 withdrew. So there is the 10 hapu, Te Whanau Harawaka, Te Whanau Hekarukutai, Te Whanau Kahurautau, Te Whanau Akaio, Te Whanau Kauai Tangohia, Te Whanau Nuku, Te Whanau Paraki, Te Whanau Rutaia, Te Whanau Tapua Ururangi, Te Whanau Tutawaki. The 3 hapu that declined to continue membership, declined to join, they were Te Whanau Te Ehutu, Te Whanau Hine Te Kahu, and Te Whanau Maruhaira. Now, this is an extract from the deed of trust of the Runanga. And it says, the Runanga was formed as follows. That primarily the Runanga is to facilitate the efficiency and independence and self-government of the hapu and the resources generally belonging to Te Whanau Apanui. That the Runanga shall be established for the mutual support and benefit of the hapu. That the hapu shall equally participate and be represented on the Runanga. That the structure and administration of the Runanga shall not diminish the standing of the hapu. That the Runanga shall always remain accountable to the iwi in its operations and performances, and that the hapu must be fully consulted on the terms constituting the Runanga. And the Runanga was to be formed as follows. Go back. Now, here's something interesting. Last year I attended, in June it was, a briefing where we were surprised, if you like, with a done deal regarding the agreement in principle. Following that, I decided to sniff around and managed to gain access to reports at the charity services. And what you see there is the total income for Te Runanga o Te Whanau from 2010 through to 2019. So in those, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, in those 9 years, the revenue has totaled 44 million. The expenditure has totaled 42 million. It's a lot of money, but who controls it? It's supposed to be the board. So the questions I have, they're pretty obvious, I think. When you look at paragraph 2 of the deed of trust. The Runanga o Te Whanau is owned by the 10-member hapu equally. The Runanga shall always be accountable to the iwi, and therefore to the hapu. But without the lawfully required iwi register, those controlling Te Runanga o Te Whanau have been able to operate without accountability, without transparency, and with total revenues over 44 million over 9 years. I have to ask, what benefits, what funds, what assets out of that 44 million have been paid through to the hapu and therefore to the respective marae? When you look at our marae and a few others, I'd say the answer is about 0. So the question is, who has had control and power of that 44 million? It is supposed to be in the Board of Governance, the trustees. But my discussions with those who have been trustees is that in terms of the revenue and who controls it, they have no idea. It is controlled by those who are running the Runanga operations. The Board of Governors, the trustees, are just there, I don't know, go along, have a cup of tea and have some kai 2 or 3 times a year, I guess. And who has had control and power of the expenditure of 42 million, nearly 43 million. Again, this is supposed to be the Board of Governance, the trustees. Now, section 5 of the deed of the Te Runanga o Te Whanau says the number of natural persons determined, the Board of Governors will consist of the number of natural persons determined by the hapu and recorded in the trust deed and charter. A chairman elected by the board from amongst the trustees and confirmed by 70% of the hapu. Now, I am not aware of there ever been an election, at least not within the Paiako, where we've been asked to confirm a person to be chairman of the Runanga. In fact, I have no idea who the chairman is. The number of persons comprising the board is to be determined by the hapu having regard to the tikanga of the hapu, the characteristics of the hapu, the desirability of the board being representatives of the hapu, the efficient and effective functioning of the board as a group. But there will be no more than 10 and no less than 7. And 10 is the obvious number. You've got 10 hapu, 1 member, obviously, from each of the hapu. Now, it's been a few months since I've gone through the charity services stuff, but these were the recorded, registered trustees. Now, the first thing, the deed of trust says you can only have 10 members. Now, it seems to me I can count up to 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So how come we got 11 members there? And who do they represent? I mean, I presume there's one from each of the hapu, but where's the 11th one? So why are there 11 members on the board? That's in breach of the deed, it appears to me. And if it's not, when was the deed changed to permit 11 members? Who's the current chairperson of, the Runanga? and how and when was the chairman selected and elected? Because, like I said, I'm not aware Ngāti Paiako ever having a hui to consider who should be chairperson. And for that matter, who have been the chairperson since 2003, and how were they elected? Now, Section 12 of the Act, the function and powers of mandated iwi organisations. They are to act for the benefit of all the members of the iwi, irrespective of where those members reside. So this is not the Runanga is not there for hokainga. And when I look at the Runanga, it seems to me the whole thing is run for a few individuals and their supporters. And when you're talking about $44 million, that's a hell of a lot of money to be controlled by whoever. Now, Section 12(1)A is of fundamental importance, because contrary to what some people think, that section confirms that all members shall benefit, not just the hokainga, not just those who can get home to their respective marae hapu meetings. Every person who can prove their whakapapa linkage to Te Whanau Punui, including all those living outside the rohe, and including those outside of Aotearoa. And that's why it is so important that we create the register. The work that Ria Phillips is doing under instruction from our chairman, her dad, Paul Delamere, is of tremendous importance. Because one, that's the law. It's a runanga, and we're supposed to have a register. So let's get that register. As I said, I think Ngāti Paiako probably has 2,000 people. We know that in the census, I think it's 12,984 people in the last census we've got information on, that's 2013, identified themselves as Te Whanau Punui. Now, ideally, the register should have 12,984 names back from 2013. So where is the register? And again, I don't believe the register exists. And if it doesn't exist and has never existed, then how the hell did the Runanga get control of the assets of Te Hokai Moana, the fishing quota assets? And I got to ask myself, what funds, assets and resources have been received by Te Runanga Te Whanau since its formation in 1988? Not a hell of a lot until 2003 or whenever it was. But once the fishing money was distributed, the assets, quite a lot. But it appears to me there has been no accountability, no transparency. No one in the wider community of Te Whanau has any idea. So how have those assets been spent, utilised? Who approved it? All approvals should have come from the board. Yet when I talk to members of the board, they haven't a clue what I'm talking about. So who had or has the legal and mandated authority to spend or utilise those funds, assets and resources? Again, it should be the board, but they don't know what's going on. So I intend to get to the bottom of it, because those assets belong to the hapu. And to see our marae falling into disrepair, when I know up the road, $44 million plus over 10 years has flowed through the coffers of Te Runanga Te Whanau, but nothing, not a brass razoo, appears to have made its way back to the marae, then this bears investigating and checking out. And again, there are funds and assets that have gone out to the other three hapu, Te Whanau Te Hutu, Te Whanau Hine Te Kahu, and Te Whanau Maruhaira Muri. Who's getting that money? Are they getting it? And if so, who within them? Or is it all going to the Runanga? I don't know, but I intend to find out. Anyway, whānau, that's my rant and rave for Friday night, 3rd of April. Stay well, stay protected. It's good that the Rangatahi have closed off the borders of the Whanau, and our cousins up north have done the same there. I'm here stuck down on the Wairarapa on the base of the Tararuas. There's only 3 roads into the Wairarapa. We've got 8 cases now. We should close off our borders as well. Wouldn't be difficult. But anyway, tomorrow I will go over what I know about the treaty claim negotiations. I have some major concerns there because the people running that claim, managing that claim, taking the money from the Crown for managing the claim, I believe are the same people who've been controlling the funds of the Runanga. And we need to have accountability and transparency. Anyway, till tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock in Humaira.